Hello, I'm Ken Fobb. This is NewsNet, Baton Rouge. Grab yourself a tea or coffee as I go over with you headlines and news from our local area and region. In St. Tammany Parish last week, former Sheriff Jack Strain was arrested and charged with aggravated rape, aggravated incest, and indecent behavior with a juvenile. Authorities arrested Mr. Strain as he left his house, and he was immediately taken to jail. What began as an investigation into a kickback scheme last year opened up into a new investigation concerning alleged sex crimes involving Mr. Strain. 2 employees from a work release program ran by former Sheriff Strain's office are claiming he sexually abused them, and at least 4 more persons have come forward alleging sexual abuse from Mr. Strain over the course of many years. According to reports, District Attorney Warren Montgomery's office has been overseeing the investigation into allegations against Mr. Strain, alleging he sexually abused multiple minor children while he was in office. Mr. Jack Strain's bond has been set at $400,000. Over in Ascension Parish, the town of Donaldsonville, the former Catholic parish priest, who is accused of stealing tens of thousands of dollars from the church that he used to pastor, was brought back to Louisiana last week to face the criminal charges brought against him. Father Desmond Ohankori turned himself in to the Ascension Parish jail last week, and his bond was set at $50,000. Sheriff Bobby Webb says his office began investigating these theft allegations against the priest back in February. He's accused of stealing nearly $80,000 during the time he served as pastor at St. Catherine of Siena Catholic Church of Donaldsonville, where he served as priest from October 2014 through July 2018. According to the Diocese of Baton Rouge, the priest known as Father Desmond is a member of the Missionary Society of St. Paul, and at the time of his arrest, he was a current pastor and priest at St. Gregory the Great Catholic Church in Houston, Texas. Following up on the 3 African American church burnings in St. Landry Parish earlier this year, the defendant, Holden Matthews, has been charged with actual hate crimes for his intentional damage to religious property. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, a federal indictment was unsealed on Wednesday of last week. Also last week, 2 people were killed in a small plane crash into the Atchafalaya River levee. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, only the pilot and a passenger were in the aircraft at the time of the crash, which took place around 12:15 p.m. on June 12th. The plane was a single-engine, Quicksilver, ultralight aircraft. The circumstances surrounding the crash were unknown at the time. However, the investigation has been taken over by the Federal Aviation Administration, according to the St. Landry Parish Sheriff's Office. In Baton Rouge last week, IBM began to launch its apprenticeship program at its downtown Baton Rouge Center location, as the company works to meet its quota before its June deadline in order to receive funding from the state of Louisiana. IBM's Vice President of Global Business Services, Mark Foster, joined state and local business leaders to kick off the program in downtown Baton Rouge. IBM hired its first set of 50 technology apprentices in Louisiana. These persons will get on-the-job training that will help them qualify for some of the more than 500,000 technology jobs available across the U.S. Finally, Louisiana's mid-sized and rural communities will finally soon see Uber drivers and Lyft drivers on their streets. Louisiana lawmakers recently passed a measure to create statewide rules and regulations for the ride-hailing services business. Governor Edwards recently signed the bill into law. Up until now, Uber and Lyft services have only been available in a handful of markets in Louisiana, such as namely Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and in the greater New Orleans areas. But now, after 3 years of legislative fighting, lawmakers have finally passed the much needed and required regulatory framework, which will allow Uber drivers and Lyft drivers to operate in nearly all communities across this state. These have been headlines and news from our local area and region. I'm yours truly, Ken Fobb. I'll see you next time right here on NewsNet, Baton Rouge.